Today we are taking a look at Marin Kitagawa from My Dress Up Darling. This is the TENITOL TALL figure by FuRyu. My Dress Up Darling is a romantic comedy series built around cosplay, self-expression, and the growing connection between Marin Kitagawa and Wakana Gojo. Within that story, Marin stands out for her bright presence, expressive reactions, and the way she turns her interests into action without hesitation. That combination of openness, confidence, and playful charm gives her a very recognizable presence. Today's highlights for this figure are the softly colored skin finish, the smooth body line, and the very eye-catching pose. The first highlight is the softly colored skin finish. The skin tone stays gentle and even from the face to the torso and legs, while the shading remains light enough to preserve broad, clean surfaces. That makes the blush on the cheeks, the nail color, and the subtle shadows along the body stand out without breaking the softness of the overall presentation. The second highlight is the smooth body line. The flow from the chest into the waist and from the waist into the legs is handled without harsh breaks, so the silhouette stays continuous from top to bottom. The figure keeps that softness even in a pose with a deep arch through the torso, which gives the body a very appealing sense of continuity. The third highlight is the very eye-catching pose. The shirt pulled up into the mouth, the arm extended forward with the foundation bottle, and the leg lifted behind the body all work together to create a pose that feels playful and immediately readable. Because the second hand rests on the extended arm, the whole action reads like she is in the middle of applying foundation, which gives the sculpt a strong sense of intent rather than just a random static gesture. This channel brings you figure reviews and anime merchandise updates straight from Japan. If you enjoyed this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe. The head is built around a calm but teasing expression, and the face works especially well because the eyes, blush, mouth, and hair all support the same mood without pulling in different directions. The eyes are large and clearly framed, using strong black upper lines and long eyelashes to define the shape from a distance. Inside the irises, the red to pink color layering creates a vivid center, and the white highlights are placed in multiple sizes so the surface does not read flat. The darker outer ring keeps the gaze sharp, while the brighter inner areas hold attention in the middle of the face. Beneath the eyes, the fine lower lines and small white accents add liveliness without weighing down the lower half of the face. The eyebrows are thin and lightly colored, sitting just below the bangs and following the curve of the eye area without becoming too assertive on their own. The nose is kept very restrained, only projecting slightly forward at the center, so the transition from the cheeks into the mouth area stays smooth. That matters because the expression does not depend on a large smile or an exaggerated open mouth. Instead, the lips remain narrow and controlled, and the point of the lifted gym shirt is held between them, so the face reads through a mixture of expression and action at the same time. The cheeks also carry a faint blush, and that small touch softens the face further, especially against the very clearly printed eyes. The hair then expands that same feeling around the face. The bangs are split into many narrow sections across the forehead, and the tips are cut at slightly different lengths, which prevents the front from turning into one heavy plate. Along the sides of the face, the longer strands drop vertically and taper toward the ends, framing the cheeks without fully covering the facial outline. On one side, the hair flows behind the ear, while on the other, a front strand remains forward, so the silhouette around the face is not symmetrical in a rigid way. From the crown into the back, the larger hair mass falls in long, smooth sections with vertical groove lines that keep the surface readable all the way down. Near the lower half, the yellow gradually shifts into a pale pink, and that color transition becomes more visible as the strands separate toward the ends. The rear view is especially appealing because the hair does not stop in one blunt line. The outer strands curve slightly outward, shorter inner strands sit between them, and the tips finish at uneven points, leaving narrow gaps between sections. That keeps the back view airy and gives the head a clear sense of extension into the rest of the pose. Even without additional head accessories, the hairstyle itself provides enough structure and movement to anchor the upper part of the figure. The upper body is where the figure becomes most striking because the torso arch, the lifted shirt, and the arm placement all push the same idea at once. The body bends backward through the chest and waist while both arms stretch forward across the front, so the figure creates a strong contrast between the direction of the torso and the direction of the limbs. That opposition is what gives the pose so much energy. The white gym shirt is pulled upward into the mouth, and the central cloth rises into a pointed peak where the lips catch it. From that point, the fabric spreads outward and drops along the outer sides of the chest instead of clinging tightly to the body. The central area keeps a firm fold line running toward the mouth, while shallower folds branch out beside it, so the cloth reads as fabric being actively gathered rather than simply lifted. The side edges of the shirt hang away from the body just enough to create a clear boundary between the fabric plane and the skin beneath. The sleeves are short and open wide at the ends, and because the openings keep a rounded tubular shape, the fabric thickness stays distinct from the arm volume inside. Seen from behind, the shirt gathers higher across the upper back with several horizontal wrinkles, making it easy to understand how the front pull is affecting the rear section as well. The chest and abdomen are handled with broad, uninterrupted surfaces, and that is a major part of why the sculpt feels so smooth. The breasts are separated by a narrow central valley rather than a deep cut, and from below them, the body transitions gently into the midsection. The abdomen narrows toward the waist with only a fine vertical depression through the center, so the whole front remains readable as one long connected surface. The sides of the torso swell outward lightly and then pull inward again at the waist, creating a very clean line from the rib area into the top of the shorts. The arm arrangement adds another layer of interest on top of that body line. The forward arm extends almost straight out, and the hand grips a rectangular foundation bottle with a black pump top. Because the bottle is boxy and sharply edged, it stands out immediately against the otherwise soft surfaces of the body and clothing. The printed text visible on the side reads, "Foundation and SPF 22, which makes the prop feel specific rather than generic. The fingers wrap along the edges of the bottle, and the long pink nails extend beyond the fingertips, giving the hand a very deliberate finish. The other hand rests lightly over the upper part of that extended arm instead of gripping hard, and the fingers touch the arm in a staged, gentle way. That contact is important because it makes the whole gesture read like she is in the middle of applying foundation rather than merely holding a prop. The pose therefore feels playful but also purposeful, with the hands, cloth, and torso all working toward the same impression. The lower body is comparatively simple in costume design, but the pose and the shaping of the shorts give it plenty to look at. The blue gym shorts begin at a gathered waistband that circles the hips with repeated elastic folds. Those folds form a very clear boundary between the smooth skin of the abdomen and the beginning of the clothing, so the transition from upper body to lower body is easy to read. Below that waistband, the fabric drops in broad, clean planes instead of breaking into many wrinkles. A vertical center seam runs down the front, and additional seam lines appear at the sides, showing that the shorts are built from separate panels rather than one single smooth tube. The hems also have a distinct band-like thickness around the openings, which helps the outer edges feel finished and keeps the silhouette of the shorts from becoming too flat. From the back, the fabric is pushed outward by the shape of the hips and then falls toward the lower edge in a gentle slope, so the rear view preserves the rounded body underneath without making the shorts look overly loose. The legs are where the lower half really becomes active. One leg extends almost straight downward and acts as the main vertical line of the entire figure, connecting the arched upper body to the circular base. The knee projects only slightly, and from there, the shin continues into a long, narrow line down to the ankle. The other leg bends backward from the knee, lifting the foot off the ground and sending a shorter secondary line behind the body. That difference between the long supporting leg and the lighter backward leg is what keeps the pose from looking symmetrical or static. The feet are bare, and each side shows something different. On the planted foot, the toes spread naturally across the surface, with the big toe taking the largest area and the smaller toes stepping down in size toward the outside. On the raised foot, the underside becomes more visible, so the curve from heel to forefoot adds another kind of surface to the sculpt. Because the figure does not rely on shoes or socks for detail here, the shape of the feet themselves matters more, and the sculpt gives them enough separation to stay readable even from lower angles. A clear support piece sits behind the standing foot and rises toward the ankle area, linking the figure to the round pink base without interfering too much with the leg silhouette. That support is especially useful in this pose because the body is not arranged around a neutral standing balance. Instead, the lower half is designed to preserve the lifted, playful action of the figure, with the legs working as flowing extensions of the torso rather than as simple supports underneath it. This figure is approximately 30 centimeters tall. That's about 11.8 inches. For size comparison, here's a 350 milliliter can. That's about 12 ounces in the US. Overall, Marin Kitagawa by FuRyu stands out because this figure combines a teasing expression, a very smooth body line, and a pose that turns a simple gym uniform setup into something much more visually direct and memorable. The face gives the figure a strong first impression. The eyes are large and sharply framed, using layered red and pink tones with multiple white highlights to keep the gaze bright and centered. That vivid eye area is softened by the faint blush on the cheeks, which prevents the expression from becoming too hard. The mouth remains small, but the lifted point of the shirt held between the lips turns that small expression into the emotional center of the whole sculpt. Rather than relying on a broad grin, the figure creates its mood through that combination of narrow smile, eye contact, and action. The hair supports that presentation very well. The bangs are split into narrow sections so the eyes remain readable, while the long side strands frame the face without burying it. From the top into the back, the larger hair mass stays smooth and readable through vertical groove lines, and the transition from yellow into pale pink gives the lower half of the hairstyle extra visual interest. The separated tips and slight outward curve at the ends prevent the back from becoming stiff, so the hair continues the pose rather than stopping it. The upper body is the most attention-grabbing area of the figure because the sculpt uses opposing directions very effectively. The torso arches back, but both arms extend forward, and that tension immediately makes the pose feel active. The white gym shirt rises into the mouth at a single point, then breaks outward and falls along the sides of the chest, creating a very clear fabric layout. The central fold toward the mouth, the shallower surrounding folds, and the wide sleeve openings all help the fabric read as something being actively pulled. The body underneath stays smooth from the chest into the abdomen, with only restrained separation lines and gentle shading, which keeps the figure from becoming visually crowded even though the concept is bold. The hands also do a lot of work here. One hand grips the rectangular foundation bottle, and the visible foundation and SPF 22 print makes the prop feel specific and intentional. The other hand resting over the upper arm changes the pose from a simple forward reach into an action that looks like she is applying foundation. That gives the figure a much clearer identity as a moment being acted out rather than a random arrangement of limbs. The lower body keeps the whole figure grounded while still contributing to the sense of motion. The waistband of the shorts forms a clear visual break below the abdomen, and the front seam, side seams, and hem thickness keep the shorts readable as shaped clothing rather than a flat block of blue. The long supporting leg provides the main vertical axis of the figure, while the other leg bends and lifts behind the body to create a lighter secondary line. Because the feet are bare, the pose depends more on the actual sculpted form of the toes, arches, and heel shapes, and those areas are handled cleanly enough to stay readable. The clear support behind the planted foot allows the figure to keep that playful lifted pose without forcing extra structure into the body itself. What makes the whole piece especially effective is the way the eye travels through it. The view starts at the face and the point of the shirt, moves out through the extended arm and foundation bottle, drops through the torso into the waistband and shorts, and then returns through the lifted leg and the flowing hair behind the body. That path feels natural, so the figure stays easy to read even though the pose is bold. Because of that, fans of My Dress Up Darling or Marin Kitagawa will probably enjoy this piece a lot. Collectors who like expressive faces, smooth body sculpting, and poses with a clear sense of action should find it a very satisfying addition. That's it for this video. If there's any part of the figure you liked, feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.